to the next part of the entertainment hour.
Are we
This
bringing the
wonderful question. Yes,
guest?
we're gonna bring up the assistant coach.
Who's
I
the
gave her that
assistant
name.
coach? Come on up.
I don't know if y'all
Lady
want to give
Bug.
her that name, but I gave her that name.
I'm gonna give her my.
Is she the offensive coordinator or the defense coordinator?
She the offensive
It doesn't matter.
coordinator.
She's a coordinator.
Come
period.
on, coach. Coach 2.
Very defensive.
Come on up, girl. Where you going, Professor?
I'm gonna give her my seat.
Oh, okay, you gonna get your own seat?
He got,
Oh, mercy.
he got to get more.
So introducing assistant coach in the house. How you doing today, lady?
He got to get more Fat Tuesday. It's Fat Tuesday at Brick House.
I think.
Yes.
I think Louis done. Professor's done.
Yeah, I think so.
I think he's done.
Yeah, I think he's done.
Your Fat Tuesday. You done?
He didn't took the cup and moved it over to the side.
All right. So here we go. He say, she say question comes from none other than the Benchwarmer. And the question is, what happens to men who are raised by women as head of household?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Don't everybody speak too fast.
So
What
that was the
happens
question.
to
Let's
men who
walk
are
off now.
raised by women as the head of household.
What happens to them in terms
Can
of
you
what?
clarify what your question means, sir?
All right, so I'm gonna go philosophical with y'all. Okay, if a
It's
man
supposed to be fun, not philosophical.
if a man is supposed to be the head of the household, we've always heard where a woman cannot raise a man to be a man. We've heard that many times because there are certain things that men do as men that women another man can't relate to a woman do, that conversation. So what happens to a man who's raised by a female who's the head of the household and there's no men in the household? There's no, when I say the household, he doesn't have a male role model to go after or to ride with. What we think about that?
Well, I can speak from experience. My mom pretty much raised me and my two sisters by herself for the most part. She had little help here and there, but nothing really stable as far as a male figure, a positive male figure. I mean, there were guys around, obviously, but not the type of guys that you would call
role models.
Great figures. And it varies. My mom was real tough. She's old school. I took my butt whippings with every weapon you could think of when I didn't behave.
Weapon.
She said weapons.
I thought there were no weapons formed against you.
Oh, that's the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah,
but it doesn't work like that.
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Stuff that happened back then,
form
you'd go to
for
jail
you.
for it.
Yeah,
now.
yeah, I know.
And so,
Extension cords, shoes,
Fly swat.
phones.
but because of that, I think because I was raised by a single mom, I
Broomsticks.
developed more respect for women. I have a real soft spot for women. My assistant can attest to that, and and I always thank her for that because I've never put my hands on a woman. I never will. I've never degraded women. I don't disrespect them. I try to be as respectful as possible to whoever I meet. And also I'm able to understand where women are coming from in different perspectives. We've talked about things before, and I can look at it from their standpoint because I grew up with nothing but women. And I think I'm a pretty strong head of my house. I don't think you can talk to me and look at me and call me soft or anything like that or afraid when it's time to be serious and take charge and reprimand my boys if I have to, or if I have to talk to somebody about business, or if I have to get in somebody's face who's disrespected my wife. I have no issue doing that. And so it just depends on who your parent was. And that will dictate how strong or what type of man you become. And so I will always give my credit to my mom for that, because as hard as we had it, I don't think I turned out too bad.
Do you think that you missed out on anything by not having that male role model in the house?
No, because what's funny? I met my biological father when I was 17 and a half, almost 18 years old. And we have a lot of similarities. So you would have thought he'd raised me. We're a lot alike in a lot of ways. We have a lot of the same likes. Obviously, there are a few things he does that I'm not on par with. He's a little different as far as his look, his take on women in certain situations than I have. but overall, I think we have a lot of similarities. So I don't think I missed out on a lot.
So
And
that
God,
DNA is strong.
well,
huh?
and God blessed me with 2 boys for a reason.
Mhm.
So whatever
So
I
you can
missed,
experience.
They
whatever
got
I missed then, they have.
Mhm.
And so they won't have to tell the story I'm telling right now.
That's
Because
good.
if they do, they're not telling the truth, and I'm gonna get them. So, from that standpoint, yeah, I give my mom a lot of credit. I mean, she had to be as strong as she could, and that's why no matter what me and her are going through, I've never disrespected her. I don't curse around her, never talk really back to her in a disrespectful manner, and I never will. And not because I'm scared of her or anything, just because she's earned that
You know you're
respect.
scared.
Oh, come on, she's
You know your
five.
mother. You know
she's
your mother
five,
told you
six-
she don't care
let-
how
let-
tall you get,
let
how
me tell
big
you
you get.
something.
She will get up on a ladder.
She's
and
not
beat you
watching
down.
this show. I will chunk.
He's kidding.
I know.
I'm saying.
I
I ain't
know.
gonna lie.
I heard my grandmother say, "I will get up on a ladder and beat you down 6 feet to
I-
8 feet
Mhm.
under."
I ain't gonna lie.
No, she earned the respect, and I will continue to give it to her. And I'll be,
Mhm.
I'm thankful for the knowledge she gave me, because that allows me to be more. I have my days where I'm hard on my spouse and everything like that, but at the same
When
time,
the Cowboys lose,
I can be sensitive about certain things
When
too.
you lose.
Well, then she knows, don't be in
stay out
the
of
room
the
when
room.
that's going on.
There's boundaries we have to.
That's just certain things you
don't cross that
learn
boundary. Yeah.
over 19 years.
There you go. There you go. There's a boundary. The
So
Cowboys losing. Get out the
that's
door.
my take on it.
Good take. Good take.
Very good.
And we got a he say. He
She
say. Now
say.
she's.
Well,
Oh well, no. Let's cross it.
yeah, but shall we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I watched my mom raise me and my brothers. We had uncles and people at church that came around, and I can't speak for my brothers, but I think that they turned out well. My brother's married with his own family, and I think he missed out. He had an opportunity to meet his dad, and he just doesn't want to have anything to do with him. Not telling his business or anything, but I think that it made him more connected to his family now and more apt to stay there because he missed that with his own father, so he doesn't want to put his kids through that. So I think that like you said, it depends on who raised you, what type of mother you had raising you in a household without a father in it, because although she can't as a mother know the thoughts of a man per se and some of the things that men go through, if she's a good mom, she will find someone to fill that gap, so to speak. I know that I was single for a long time with my 4 kids, and before Cedric and I got married, and I had
Who said that?
Benchwarmer.
Yes. Don't
I
people
had
on the show?
mentors from the church that would mentor my sons. I had uncle, I had my dad. I had other men that I could turn to when there were things that I just did not know as a woman to handle with my boys. Why is my son, thinking this? Why is he acting like this? So on and so forth. There's certain things that I didn't know. I did the best that I could as a single mom. And Cedric and I had this conversation about
Who said
mom
it?
saying, I'm sorry, bench warmer. At the time I was talking to Cedric.
Okay.
But
Have to bring
we
him on
had
the
the
show.
conversation about mothers wanting to get accolades for Father's Day, because I had to be mother and father. And he said, you can't be mother and father, because what does that mean? What does being a father entail? Is it just the provision part, going out and working 2 jobs and being able to take care of your household? Or is it more to it than that? Because being a father is more to it than just providing for your family. It's teaching, it's training, it's taking them out to ball games. It's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into being a father. So I was never one of the ones that said I was mother and father, because I knew I wasn't. I did the best I could do as a mother, holding down some parts of what the father was supposed to be doing, like providing, but I could not be all that I couldn't teach them how to play football in all my dreams. As much as I love football, I couldn't get out there with them and teach them how to do that. It took them learning from a coach or something like that, and then the older ones teaching the younger ones how to do that. So I think that what happens to men who are raised by women as head of household, it could be one or two ways. I mean, if it's a good, strong minded mother that knows where her strengths are and where she needs to fill in gaps for her sons, I think they will turn out very well and they will be great men. But a mother who doesn't look to her resources to help her, then those young men could turn out to be just hell on wheels. You know,
RuPaul.
I wouldn't say all that. I wouldn't say all that.
Oh,
But I
my.
mean, if it's a mother that's neglecting her child, you know, because she's too busy working or whatever she's out there doing, then yeah, you could have those that turn out to be, you know, something a little different.
Atlanta men.
I can't.
We got Shucky Ducky on the stage right now.
Oh my God.
What's going on there?
I can't.
Man from San Francisco.
I can't. So anyway, Benchwarmer,
All right.
going to the he part.
Yeah, the reason why this question was posed is because I hear what everybody's saying, but we're not looking at a root cause. We're not looking at a root of anything. When God called man to be the head of the household, okay, he never called woman to be that head. Now, men have tried to push women in that role, you know, and I think women have done a yeoman's job of taking up that role. But they have never, but in the history of woman, they have never taken up the role the way God called the man to take up that role. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times we don't look at that. Yes, I was raised by my mom. Here's the difference, though. My dad was around since I was 6 or 7 years old, so the foundation was built within me way before, you know. And then I even look at my kids. I divorced their mother when they was like, I don't know, 13, 12, 11, something like that, you know. But I stayed in their lives because I didn't want them to be in a situation where they're not in a fatherless home. Even though I wasn't physically there, I was always there, you know. So because that role, it's easy to say, yeah, you know, my mom raised, but there are certain things that you get from your father that a mother cannot give you. So you just tearing up you and Lewis, y'all, you know,
It's that cord.
Yeah, no, it's the cord. So when I ask the question, and you'll have a lot of males that grew up in a fatherless home that turned out pretty good. The majority, though, because I almost guarantee you, you cannot be I cannot be the man of my household, strong in my household, and my son says, "Oh, Daddy, I'm gay." Because gayness is something that is brought. You're not born that way. But if you're not born gay. God does not make mistakes when he raised kids. You come up to that way. That's why we're all born into sin. So you're not. God has never birthed a gay child. Never in the history of the world. He's never said, I'm gonna put a child in that woman's stomach and he's gonna be gay. God has never done that. Never in the history of the world. Never done that.
Okay.
It happens as that child continues to move forward in their life. That means there are influences, there are things that happen within that child that makes that child feel that way. You cannot tell me that God said, I birthed this gay child right here.
And Longhorn said that's a whole different conversation.
And that's the first time that a Texas Longhorn said something I agree
with Alex. That's a whole nother conversation.
Now it goes into a woman raising male children. Are you saying that because that there's no father figure that he's going to grow up gay?
He has the propensity to be gay.
I don't know the statistics
because there have been gay that have been born,
but how do we
mother and a father.
But how do we know that? How do we know that though?
Because they're out there.
No, how do we know that though? You don't know that.
It doesn't. To say such thing.
Yeah, I think that's
to say such a thing is unfair.
Yeah.
Because everyone is an individual. It doesn't. It is not indicative to how you're raised. It's who you are. And I don't think that a son raised by just a mother, he's going to have the propensity to be gay.
I have to disagree with you because the Bible says train up a child in the way that he should go. And as he gets older, he would not depart from that. If that child is not trained up, that's in the Bible.
Yes, it is.
Train
It
up a
is.
child.
is,
However,
but
so
that doesn't
God is
mean
not-
that just
so-
because he's raised by a woman, he's
No. I'm
automatically
not
be
saying
gay.
that. I'm not saying that. But if you have a
And
man,
it's not to say that if you have a man and a woman as the parents, that child won't still be gay or
because he could go the other
transgender.
Ma-
way. He
Magic
could be a
Johnson and
womanizer.
Cookie.
And,
He could be
hello, and
so-
there
But
you go.
Magic
There's
Johnson
an
was-
example.
He could be so enamored.
Okay,
There's
you
an
got
example
one.
right there. No,
But-
That
But-
son
but
could be
Magic
so
was-
enamored by women that he could go the other way.
but Magic
Right.
was that
And
name
become a
Magic
womanizer.
meant something.
And
know
say
what?
that, you know what, I love women so much. I don't want
I just
any
wanna be
woman
one.
to go through what my mother went through. I'm gonna love them all,
Mhm.
and that's how you can
I mean,
get.
his daddy might be in a
womanizers.
hoe too, so he loved them all too.
Well,
What you say?
raising a
Oh my
child, whether
gosh.
it's female or male, is just about parenting. There's no manual on
Right.
You-
parenting.
You're right. You're absolutely right about
Well,
that.
Dr. Spock.
Well, yeah, Dr. Spot. Yeah, we was raised on Dr. Spot. That is a manual.
I never picked that book up
Oh,
in my life.
You know,
man.
they babies. They
Oh, my
still,
bad. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
I never.
Anyway,
No.
but to that point though, I'll say this right here.
I'm a man. I'm almost 40.
Okay.
Okay.
He
Well, no,
almost 50.
No, I'm
Who said that?
no. I'm not saying every child that was raised in a fatherless home, every man that was raised in a fatherless home will wind up gay. I'm not saying that at all.
That's what it sounded
No.
like.
mean,
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me
no,
wrong.
it
Don't
did
get me wrong.
sound that way.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is this right here. Without a man and a woman in a home, then the child is susceptible for certain things, and the Bible has put that in place. That with if there's not a 2-parent home, male and female, not male and male, not female and female, because God never created it that way. I'm going back to a biblical stance that we never go back to. God created a home to be man and woman, and if we go against that God created, then we have to know that there's some
Statistics.
there's statistics or
Susceptibilities.
susceptibilities that home is not going to be
A good environment.
exactly. There's going to be some things within that environment that's going to sway, and I don't care how great a mother you can be, because my mother was a great mother. Mommy, a great mother. I'm scared of her to this day. If she look at me right now and say go clean the kitchen, I ain't saying nothing, but I'm gonna go clean the kitchen. You know,
But I'm just saying, I'm with assistant coach. I think that it doesn't matter whether it's just a mother or if there's a mother and father in the house. If the child is going to go in that direction,
it matters a lot. You cannot say it doesn't matter, because I'm gonna tell you
I'm
why.
not saying that it doesn't matter, but I'm saying that
Th-
you can't say that just because the child was raised by a woman alone that he has the propensity to be gay, or she has the propensity
They have
to
more
be
propensity to be gay if they was raised in a.
But where are
in
your
a
facts to say that?
no, we've never researched those.
Well, we need to
No, no,
research
no,
that
no,
before we say that,
no,
because that's not a
I'm
fact.
gonna tell you where the fact is in the Bible.
Where does
That's
it say
your
that in the
fact.
Bible?
No, in the Bible it says in Proverbs, you go all through Proverbs, it says fathers teach, fathers learn. No, it says fathers teach, mothers learn. Throughout the whole Proverbs, it talks about how do you raise your child. Fathers, mothers, fathers, mothers, fathers, mothers. It never says mothers, 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 mothers. It never says fathers, fathers, fathers. It says fathers, mothers, fathers, mothers. You train a child within the Bible. So there's your fact right there. If you're not going father, mother, father, mother, father, mother, and you're going mother, 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 you cannot expect, you have to know that there are going to be some things within that child that they didn't get from the father, that they should have got, that God has put in place.
Mm.
There are things, I mean, it's just natural. Now we might say, no, I'm good, I'm cool. No, there are things that we need from our fathers as men that you cannot get from your mother.
Well, I understand that part,
This is
and
true.
but that part I believe and I agree with. I just don't agree.
So
with
that
the part
leaves
that
things open, just
it
like
does.
it leaves
but I
a
still
lot.
don't think that is the determining factor.
It's not. I didn't
as
say that
to
was
whether
determined.
a child is going.
I
to
didn't say that was
turn
a
in
determining factor,
direction.
but what it does is it leaves things open for that to come in and creep in.
Mhm.
It just leaves it open. Anytime you do not go by the will of God and what God has within the family structure, it's going to leave things open. And you cannot say, nope, that's not the case. No. That is the case. When you do not go within that structure, it leaves things open. And once those things are open, guess what? You allow things to seep in.
Well,
Okay.
on another note, sometimes it begins with 2 parents. But then what if the father passes away? What if the father passes away? There's 5 boys. The mother has to do all of the raising. Those children, are they going to go by the wayside because it's just a mother?
No, because here's what God does.
Or are those children are going to adapt
Here's what God.
and learn how to pull the resources they need from other sources? Sometimes you have to create
You're right.
your
Yes.
role model.
And here's what
Right.
God does. God brings you those role models. If he brings that to you, to take that place. I remember when I was 8 years old. I was 8 or 9. I remember a lot of stuff. When I was 8 years old, I remember thinking, okay, God, can you be my replacement? Because my dad, I remember asking him to be my replacement, so he became my replacement. So while there are things that my mother could not give me, he gave me, because the foundation was already built. And if the father does pass, that foundation is built. And so we lean out. It's train up a child in the way he should go. And you don't train a child when he gets 10, 11, 12. You train him when they 1, 2, and 3.
We have so many biblical stories that teach us how parenting goes. I can't even talk right now.
Prodigal
Prodigal
son.
son.
Mm-hmm.
A big example there that you can train a child in the way they should go, but they may decide they want to go another way.
And as they get older, they went out to party because he came back.
Yes, he did come
He
back.
came back. See, and that's
He
the
did
thing.
come
And,
back.
and that's
He
what
had
we
to go out
miss.
there and learn.
But
But
that's
he
what
did.
that's
he had
what
to learn
that,
on his own.
right. That's what we missed though. Train up a child in the way that she goes. So as he gets older, he will not return. He will not. He will come
Depart.
back. He would
Yes.
depart from. Didn't say he wasn't gonna go straight, but he came back because the father. And guess who he
Because
came
it
back
always be in the back of his
to?
mind.
Guess who he
Yes.
came back to? The father.
Yes.
The father had the fatted cat. He came back to the father. We don't even know who the mama was in the prodigal child story.
There's vague mention. But what in our community, there have been so many Black mothers without Black fathers.
Exactly.
So this is a generational thing
Mhm.
for us. But now we're doing better. We're starting to see more Black couples raising strong Black families. And that's what's important. That is an advantage that we didn't have in prior years.
Right.
We had a father that was here, there, and there, or sometimes we maybe had a mother and grandmother or auntie was raising them.
Mhm.
So parenting a child, not having all the resources, it's just the struggle of the Black culture. We made it through regardless of what those circumstances were. Whether there was not a father, we already had a father in place. Our holy father, our heavenly father. So we have been able to, as a culture, to overcome things that that should have been available to us in the beginning.
Right.
You have,
Because remember,
Bob
back
and
in
Stacey
slave
down the
days,
street raising Tommy,
Mhm.
and they created a foundation before Tommy was even born.
right.
However, we don't have that luxury because of where we came from.
Now let me ask you.
We can't
Remember,
continue
they
to use
started
that as a
dividing
crutch.
families in slave
Now
days.
let me ask you a question.
Removing the
Though.
father, because they knew if you had a
Yes.
father in the household, that family would be strong and united. So they would take the father, the head of the household,
Yes.
and leave that mother to raise those children by herself.
But now let me
That
And
was
ask
a
that's like having
tactic.
you need the king of the jungle.
Yes, exactly.
So if you had a lioness,
It was a tactic. It
you
was a
wouldn't be able to
strategy.
to
It was a
survive.
strategy
So
that
now-
they used.
Now let me ask you a question though. You brought out a good point, but I want to kind of ask that question on this point. Have we become so so self-helped that we feel like, okay, I can do it myself?
I
I
can do
don't-
bad by myself.
Yeah, I don't need that man's help when that's clearly stated in the Bible.
Well, that's a brainwashing situation. That's a
Yeah,
whole
I
nother
know. That's a whole nother
topic
story
where you
too.
feel that, oh, I don't need him. We can remove him out of the house. That's why people are so quickly to, stay on particular assistance because, I can't say that I have a
Mhm.
spouse because, if I say that I have a spouse, that I can't get
I
these
can't get this.
benefits.
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
slave to that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's another
They talked
topic for
about
another
that.
day. I can go
Mhm.
deep or I can stay on the surface level.
Mm-hmm.
We only
they
got 5
talked
minutes.
about that the other day
Yeah, we
too.
got 5 minutes. We down to 2 minutes. We
Yeah.
down to 30 seconds. Oh,
But
we
that's a
got-
brainwashing. I
It's
agree.
brainwashing.
we have
I
15
agree.
seconds. Up, time's up. No.
But thank God that there's a movement to
Yes.
celebrate Black love and keep families together and,
And you know
keep
where
them
we saw
strong and
But
unified.
here's
You
what I
know where
want.
we saw it?
where
Where we saw it, where we never saw it before?
in President Obama.
Yes,
yeah.
we did.
But here's
I
what
think that's when it started.
Here's
When
what-
we
here-
saw how
Because
far
people
he
didn't
was
believe
able-
it was possible. They
Exactly.
didn't believe it was happening. But we
Exactly.
saw it.
here's what I
when
want
we
to say.
saw them get to the White House, it just took.
But here's what I want to say too.
Can I finish my
Okay,
thought,
good. When I
please?
saw it get to the White House, it
I
took
done,
off.
I
took
done
off.
lost my train of thought.
But it's possible. We weren't just raised by wolves and bringing up these kids, and they're either going to go to prison or play football or play
Mhm.
basketball. No, we
saw
have
a
engineers, doctors,
successful
lawyers,
Black
Yes.
family leading the country.
and we
and
have always
international.
had successful Black
We
families.
have.
Yeah, look at the
leading
But
Huxtables.
the
business.
whole
The Huxtables was
nation
successful.
did not get to see that.
Exactly.
Not,
were
not
seeing-
a sitcom.
They were seeing
The
crazy.
Jeffersons.
But the
Those are
Cosby Show
sitcoms.
was not just. It was not just a TV show.
Right.
It was something that was propelling the Black community
Yes.
into that dynamic.
Right.
Where
Instead of good times where we struggling all the
Exactly.
time in the project.
But
Well,
even
it was-
good
But they
times
still had a father in
but
the
they
house.
removed the father. If you
They
remember,
did.
they removed
They
the father.
did.
But they had the
did.
Jeffersons. The
Jeffersons.
The
Jeffersons.
Jeffersons. Yep.
And they
started to
they
show-
showed him George Jefferson as a tough old Black man.
Yes.
What you
yes,
talking jive turkey?
yes.
He got 7 stores.
Yes.
One location near
Moved
you.
on up
Well, we're moving
to the
on
east
up.
side.
It showed the struggle and it showed the flight up.
And y'all
it
forget
showed the
Family
success.
Matters.
Yes.
Y'all forget Family Matters
Yes.
Mhm.
with the Black.
But it
people?
wasn't just TV. This was
Okay, but-
actually happening in our community.
Right.
But you know, he was kind of.
Anyway, go on, Cedric. Benchwarmer.
He was
move
raised-
on.
He was raised
Move
by the mama.
on. Move on. Don't even get started with that.
He was only raised by that mama
What's
who was
your
still in
point?
the house.
What's your thought?
No.
Because we wrapping it up.
I just
Get
forgot
to
my
your
thought.
point.
But it takes a village. In a
No,
nutshell,
okay,
it takes a village.
but here,
No
Yeah.
one parent is raising
right.
one child.
But
Right.
here's another point I
And
want.
we got to remember that we're better and stronger together.
Here's a point I want to get to though. This is the big point I want to get to. This Bible was not written for just Black people,
Well, we know
but we
that.
holler Black love all the time. This Bible, no. You just said to watch the Black families. This Bible was not written for Black people. Jesus didn't die for Black families.
For
So
all
we
of
need,
us.
we need to stop this whole look at Black families can be strong. No. Families can be strong. Period. Because it still happens. The same epidemic happens in a white household when there's no father in the household. The same epidemic happens. There's no color line on this thing right here. It says when you don't have a father in the household, there are going to be problems.
But for the benefit of our show,
Right.
which
Thank
is what?
you.
It's a Black.
Black
show.
show.
No, it's 4-1 Sports.
It's who's it owned by?
It's Black sports, Black owned,
Some
Black power, Black excellence.
some dude from the ghetto.
You have to make
Moving
a
on
difference
up,
at some
Mr.
point.
Jefferson.
Right.
When the bulk of our men are in prison or in 6 feet under. So there has to be a comparison made.
right.
Well, y'all
It
just
has
stop
to
doing
be.
crime.
Well,
Well,
true.
it's a part of
It's
their-
true.
Boy.
You are a product
Or-
of your environment.
Or we need to start going to jury duty so they won't be
There
in
are
jail.
powers that be.
I'm
that
not doing
stop
jury
you
duty
at certain
again.
points. We
I
just
did it.
watched the Academy Award-winning film. What was the
If
name?
Bill
Regina
Street
King
could talk.
won.
If Bill Street
If
could
Bill
talk.
Street
If Bill
could talk,
Street could
right.
talk. I had a hard time watching it because it was
I hadn't
that
seen it
ending
yet.
was horrible.
it was
I hadn't
so
seen it.
Horrible.
I have to
it was
watch that.
typical of what is actually happening. It
Yep.
has been happening.
And she didn't like it at all.
I didn't like it at all. I said, "How did this
Your
win?
daughter said stop. You need to stop.
All of
So-
the movies that she's done, how did she get an Oscar for this? I mean, I understand,
But that's just like when they gave the Oscar to Denzel for Training Day.
yeah,
I'm like,
that's
you
just-
done all these other great Malcolm X.
Hey,
Yeah,
King
I-
Kong
Come
didn't have
on now.
King Kong
But
didn't
you
have
gonna
nothing
give it
on
to him
him.
when he act
No.
like a dirty thug, a bad cop. Come on. And you gonna give Halle Berry, she has so many more better movies than Monsters Ball. You gonna give it to her when she's sleeping with a white man and showing all the stuff.
Well, we got to stop taking.
Yeah,
these
I don't
roles.
disagree
Yeah.
with that one.
Yeah. I mean, but
anyway.
but stop supporting E BET.
That's another story. We
Anyway,
gotta wrap it up.
yeah,
Yes.
we're wrapping it up
Cause-
because Quest is on the time. And so up
Yes.
next we have the
Next
NFL.
we talk Jason Witten and return
Just
is
gonna
his
cut me
return.
off.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I'm trying to do a I'm trying
I
to
was
do-
trying to, smoothly move us on to the next segment. But
well,
go
we're gonna
ahead,
take
Benchwarmer.
take a quick break.
Okay. Shout out to Brick House Lounge.
Yes.
Yes, Fat Tuesday.
Fat Tuesday.